L'italiano, la lingua dell'amore, di Dante, della pizza, e della mia ex. Italian is a Romance language spoken in Western Istria and San Marino, often seen as the living language closest to Latin, mostly because everyone forgets Sardinian exists. Like many other Indo-European languages, Italian has grammatical gender. My favorite definition for this is that grammatical gender is a system of noun classes which are reflected in associated parts of speech. And what does that mean? Well, like French, Spanish, and Portuguese, Italian has two genders, masculine and feminine, which correspond roughly to the categories of men and women. If I was addressing a man and I wanted to call him beautiful in Italian, I'd say sei bello, whilst to a woman I would say sei bella, with that O switching to an A to indicate the feminine inflection of that adjective. But the thing is, this doesn't just apply to people. Every noun has a set gender which defines how it interacts with the words around it. The easiest way to see this is through articles. In English, if we want to talk about a specific thing, we use the word the, known as the definite article. The fox catches the rabbit. But in Italian, these articles are affected by the genders of the Italian words for fox and rabbit. In Italian, this sentence is la volpe prende il coniglio. Even though la and il mean the exact same thing, they both mean the, they are different words because volpe is a feminine word and so takes the definite article la, while coniglio is a masculine word and so takes the definite article il. These correspond to la and le in French, la and el in Spanish, or a and u in Portuguese. Then we can make these plural. The foxes catch the rabbits is le volpi prendono I conigli. I don't want to go into why all these words have changed. The thing I want to focus on here is the articles. This le is, in Italian, the feminine plural definite article. That is the form of la for when there's more than one of a feminine noun. And this I is the plural of il. These correspond to le, las and los, and as and us. Italian for the woman is la donna, the women is le donne, the boy is il ragazzo, the boys is I ragazzi. Simple, right? Most of the time for Italian, you've even got this really easy way to tell what gender something is. If it ends in an A, it's probably feminine. If it ends in an O, it's probably masculine. And though there are exceptions like la mano or il problema, as long as you just learn every gender with every noun, you'll be fine. These words still use the appropriate adjective endings, and la mano still goes to le mani. Il problema goes to I problemi. Italian really should have quit while it was ahead. The Italian for the finger is il dito, the arm is il braccio, but when these go into the plural, it's le dita and le braccia. This is not a joke. That is indeed the masculine singular article il turning into the feminine plural le. In fact, these words, along with a small group of others, are masculine in the singular but feminine in the plural. I think it's time we took a look at the largest of the Romance languages that I didn't mention before. Let's leave San Marino behind and go on a journey across the Adriatic Sea into the Balkans, to the nation of Romania. Just like the other languages I've talked about, Romanian has a masculine and a feminine gender, but unlike the other languages I've talked about, Romanian has a third grammatical gender, a third category nouns can be in, the neuter. How did this Romanian third gender come about? Latin did have a three-gender system, but the set of neuter nouns in the language significantly shrank in Vulgar Latin, and the neuter is lost in most modern Romance languages. Therefore, some linguists have argued that the neuter gender was lost in Romanian as in other Latin languages, but then reinvented through contact with the Slavic languages, since Romanian was cut off from the other Romance languages and had a lot of Slavic influence, and the South Slavic languages nearby have a neuter gender. But other linguists refute this claim, and personally I find their argument more convincing. First of all, loan words which were neuter in South Slavic languages tend to pop up as feminine, not neuter in Romanian. And perhaps more importantly, the neuter in Romanian is not like the neuter in the South Slavic languages. In languages like serbo-croatian or Bulgarian, there are three distinct categories of nouns: masculine, feminine, and neuter. Meanwhile, in Romanian, a man is un bărbat, while a woman is o femeie. Both the indefinite article a and the number 2 are inflected for gender in Romanian, so two men is doi bărbați, while two women is două femei. But unlike in the Slavic languages, a neuter noun, like un pix, a pen, acts the same as a masculine noun. It has a masculine noun's adjective endings, masculine definite clitic, that is, until it becomes plural. Two pens is două pixuri, with the feminine version of two. The neuter plural acts completely as a feminine plural noun, with all those adjective endings and clitics and everything. Because of this, you could argue, and many linguists have, that Romanian actually only has two grammatical genders, with two classes in the singular and two classes in the plural, which don't necessarily correspond exactly to one another. Some words cross over from the masculine singular to the feminine plural. A group of words which acts masculine in the singular and feminine in the plural. Sound familiar? Some linguists don't use the term neuter at all for this kind of phenomenon, preferring to call these nouns heterogeneous or ambigeneric, as they switch gender rather than having their own distinct identity as neuter nouns in Germanic or Slavic languages. After all, we still think of Italian as a two-gender language, despite this set of gender-switching nouns. And because this heterogeneity exists in Romanian and Italian, linguists have argued that this is an internal feature within the Romance languages, continued directly from Latin. Though the proximity to Slavic languages may have helped to preserve the neuter gender in Romanian, it doesn't seem likely that they caused it to be reinvented after being completely lost. But wait. Latin had a three-gender system exactly like those Slavic and Germanic languages we were talking about. You know, the ones Romanian and Italian aren't like? Latin has a fully realized three-way distinction between neuter, masculine, and feminine. Bonus, bona, and bonum are the three nominative singular forms of the adjective good. So how did we get to this system? I'm so sorry to put you all through this. Let's look at a Latin declension table.
Third person plural, a present indicative.
Just one though, I promise. The table for second declension neuter nouns. This is how you say arm in Latin. Now let's put those old Italian ambigeneric nouns from the start of the video up. Notice anything? Here in the dative is where that braccio comes from, and here in the nominative is where that plural braccia started off. Maybe, just maybe, when the neuter was disappearing from Vulgar Latin and collapsing into the masculine, people saw these plurals like braccia and were like, wait, that's an A. That doesn't sound very masculine. Better make it feminine, I guess. I don't have any sources for that. I'm just gonna cite myself in the top right. That'll do. Either way, you can see quite clearly how the ambigeneric nouns in Italian come from this specific subset of Latin neuter nouns. Does this explain the Romanian ambigeneric nouns? Maybe? There is definitely a correlation with arm, un braț, două brațe, being neuter, but Romanian neuter nouns don't fit the pattern of the second declension Latin neuter like Italian ambigeneric nouns do. However, it may be that a similar thing happened at first as what happened with Italian, and then that South Slavic influence kept the neuter gender alive and thriving, expanding it into words that didn't used to have that declension pattern, rather than letting it die out like in the other Romance languages. It just seems too much of a coincidence that these two Romance languages would have the same strange feature. See, I wasn't shitposting. It was a setup, it was foreshadowing. We're all about good storytelling on the Cakeline YouTube channel.